The transformative coffee moment for me was at a place called 9th Street Espresso. It was on 9th Street in Alphabet City, and I've told this story before, but it was a latte. It was to go. I drank coffee, all my life. I think when I finally finished college, I was like in the 25th grade or something. So, a lot of experience with coffee, a lot of experience with drinking it to stay awake, drinking it to finish a meal, but not nerding out on it, not crushing on it, not anything really. And I think 05, 06, I moved into that neighborhood and I had that coffee, and it was elevated and intimate. It was as much about the space as it was about that cup. And I guess I got in the habit of that and expected that level of quality, if you will, that kind of taste or that flavor. And then I ended up coming back here to St. Louis because my brother got sick, he passed away. But while I was waiting for his medical appointments, his treatments, his surgery, I wanted to have that experience that I had in New York. And at the time, it didn't exist. At the time in St. Louis, a coffee shop meant a brunch spot with coffee, and it wasn't done the way I wanted it. So I could talk badly about it, I could just say whatever, but it was something that I felt was missing, and it was important to me. And I was either stupid or arrogant or both to think that was a market failure and that I could create that experience here. I'd never worked in coffee, I'd never done anything related to coffee except drink it. And so the idea was to create that experience here. And so the focus is on the coffee, and that's what it has always been. And sometimes that pisses people off because some people want a candied drinking experience. And we do something very narrow and specific. But the analogy I always use is, if I really liked wine and I wanted to open a wine store and I just focus on like south of France, or I focus on Northern California, in a way that's what we're doing here. We focus on a very narrow style of coffee. Like, we don't have decaf, we don't do any blends, everything is seasonal, everything is single origin. If we can get a single estate, then we'll get a single estate, and everything's roasted light. And the reason we do that is to demonstrate, hopefully, where that coffee came from and how that coffee was processed. Obviously, a good way to demonstrate special and different in coffee is to introduce somebody to coffee via natural processed coffee, like that Yemen coffee, right? And all of a sudden they're like, whether they like it or not, they're like, I didn't know it was possible. And you start a dialogue and you start a path. And it basically creates a consciousness within them that coffee is not one form factor, that coffee can be many things. Well, I think since we opened, we were the first shop to open that just said, we're going to do coffee, and that's it, and we're going to bring it really hard. Since we've opened, I feel like there's 4 or 5 places that are open, and they're doing different degrees of that. Now, did we create that? No. Was it in the water? Was it in the zeitgeist? Was it going to iterate to the middle from the coast? Yes. We just happened to do it first, I think, in St. Louis, and we had, a 10, 12-month, 2-year lead time over some shops. But even those shops that are doing stuff, they're not just copying us. They're developing their own voice and developing their own part of the dialogue.